terms of your module outline, they certainly did not save the best for last, or second last, that is, because we have to go through the very boring topic of the steps in political negotiation. And just like we were part of the international negotiation process in the last podcast, we want to carry on with that. We are looking at macro level negotiation where various nation states are coming together in order to hash something out. This particular practice has been around forever, and we actually call it diplomacy. Now, if you are a diplomat, you are basically concerned in making relationships between your country and other countries a possibility, and you obviously want to strive toward peaceful relationships or manage these relationships in a way that conflict does not arise, or if it does, that it's handled prudently and in a proper manner and that things do not escalate. The diplomatic profession has been around for centuries. Actually, they used to have a language, which was French, just for diplomatic purposes. It was a very elitist idea at first, but nowadays there are many diplomats who are public servants and who help to make these relationships possible. I have used the term multilateral negotiations before. This term is actually more prevalent nowadays than bilateral diplomacy or bilateral negotiation. When we're talking about a bilateral diplomacy or negotiation, we're looking at two states who are representing one another. Obviously, this can be pretty straightforward unless, of course, there is a long-standing history of animosity between the two of them. But very often in modern-day contexts, we're looking at a multilateral diplomacy or negotiation where we have more than two states who are coming to a table and are trying to hash things out. A lot of diplomatic efforts in these settings are actually there to find out what the views are of the others. You also sometimes want to check out what the intentions are. Is there maybe something simmering? Is there maybe a hidden motive? So you want to get intel, so to say, because better the devil you know, or you want to keep your friends close and your rivals even closer. Sometimes these diplomatic meetings could also be to calm the nerves of everybody involved, or to actually divert attention from a subject that could rattle everybody. Sometimes these meetings are decoys, can you believe it? Where the states would actually pretend that they are interested in negotiating something when indeed they are not, and maybe they are already planning a strike behind closed doors. Another reason for these diplomatic international negotiations or summits to take place is to just get your face out there and maybe spread one or two propaganda messages. We're coming back to our drip feud BMAP. MAP, remember, mutually agreed upon procedures. I am sorry to shock you, but bam, there it is. This is the actual formal pattern that the participants of political international negotiations have to go through. You can see there are preparatory phases, and then we have the actual procedural items on the agenda. Preparation can be tricky, guys. Obviously, having so many people from so many nations and to get them under one roof at one time, not the easiest of tasks. But yes, you have to agree on the venue, you need to approve the agenda, as in the points that you want to discuss, and you also want to define the level of talks that are happening. If you are a participant or an attendant in these political negotiations, you want to make sure that you prepare yourself properly and you know what your national position is. When it actually gets to these conferences, we have to go through the works, as always when we are having meetings. So you can see here, we have to confirm the credentials. We want to re-establish the purpose and the status of the talks. Maybe there was an adjournment and now you're picking up from where you were last time. You want to hand out all the documents that are necessary. Then, of course, what language should be used, what are the rules of the procedure, who will take a protocol, when is the break, and so on and so forth. You can see this is a very determined, very rigid structure, but structure is good, especially when there are so many chefs in the kitchen. Then you actually get to the substantive phases, where you're not talking about preliminary stuff like your breaks and who takes the notes, but where you actually start to confirm the agenda and you have an exposition, as in you are taking the microphone or you're taking the stage and you're telling the other attendees what is going on from your point of view. Once this is done, once there are the agreements made and the exploration of the different areas has been made, and there is maybe an agreement reached, you might actually end the negotiations there, or you might adjourn the negotiations. Adjournment is usually the way forward, because these international or multilateral negotiations are more committee-like, as in continuous. Once they're done with one topic, they might move on to another topic. And after the meeting, as you can see here, there are also still quite a few things that you have to bring about. For example, you need to get the legal clearance, you need to make sure that everybody signs, and you need to make sure that everything that has been decided and that has been written down and protocoled is communicated to the attendees. All of this obviously has to happen in a certain time frame. But please don't be too set on the time frame. Yes, the organizers have certain ideas about the time, but then what was the saying? God laughs at you if you have a plan. So you need to be a little bit flexible. A lot of things can happen. Look at Corona right now. So all these negotiations could actually take longer than you've foreseen, or they might actually not take that long. Who knows? What is very important is that you always keep this win-win idea in mind. Live and let live, talk and let talk, listen to what is being said, and try and bring about a state of affairs that is mutually beneficial to everybody.